Post-Dispatch columnist and a friend of the show. Good morning once again, Mr. Tony Messenger.
Morning, McGraw.
Downtown safety, we sort of touched on it last week, but now after Missy Kelly, which was a sort of passive-aggressive move by the Downtown Now head, came out late last week talking about crime in the city, and then Mayor Slay on Friday makes a big announcement 5 days after the terrible carjacking, and then over the weekend you had Chief Sam Dotson sort of put out a blog post where he was critical of some things. How do you read the tea leaves with all this going on?
The politicians are in a spot right now where they have to do something. They feel like they have to do something because there is a growing fear, and I wrote about this Friday, and in fact I talked about a conversation that we had on our show on your show a couple of weeks ago. There's a growing fear that how much of it's perception and how much of it's real doesn't matter anymore. There's a growing fear amongst some people in our community to go downtown.
Right.
Because there have been enough random type violence events. And you know, the carjacking was one that really raised the specter because it was at 10:30. It wasn't,
right.
2 o'clock in the morning in a neighborhood where people were out to no good at no time. It was 10:30. It was brutal. It was in an area where people like me walk regularly back from the Cardinals game, et cetera.
Right.
And so the politicians feel like they have to do something. The problem now is just coming out and being tough and making tough statements and doing some things to look better is not a long-term solution. So going from, well, we're going to let a bunch of stuff go to this idea of broken windows policing where we're just going to start harassing and arresting everybody, that's not going to be a solution. That's not going to deal with crime on a regular basis. And then you have the blog posts from the police chief, Sam Dotson, that I don't think do anything to help. The police chief came out this weekend and basically blamed it all on the judges, even though the judges had nothing to do with the particular carjacking that has created this situation, even though the cases that he wrote about had nothing to do with that particular violence.
Right.
He may have some points that he makes that are legitimate in terms of, I've been supportive of the effort by the city to try to get a gun docket so that specific gun crimes are dealt with by specific judges and tracked better and all of that. But this idea that the chief wrote that judges are unaccountable, first of all, is just simply not true. Judges in the 22nd Circuit and the 21st Circuit do stand for election after they go through the Missouri plan process of getting appointed and getting approved based mostly on merit. They do stand for election. They almost always get reelected because we don't pay much attention to judicial elections.
Right.
And maybe that's what he should be asking us to do. But to argue that the judges are unaccountable just because all of a sudden some people are putting some heat on the police chief, perhaps a reminder that we didn't used to have police accountability because we were run by a local board. We do have police accountability now because we have local control. We went through the process of getting that through the legislature, and that means that the police chief is accountable to the mayor. Maybe we should be talking about that as well. So this idea that all of a sudden we're going to start pointing fingers creates more division than what we really need. Poverty is the ultimate situation that we have to deal with as it relates to a lot of our crime. A lot of it's North County poverty that then comes into the downtown situation. We have to deal with a lot of those root causes, and those things aren't going to just go away overnight. So if we overreact and we just say, we're going to throw all the cops downtown, we're going to start arresting people, we're going to start tossing everybody in jail, that's not a solution either, because you know what? If you start arresting everybody for penny ante offenses, the judges aren't going to keep those people locked up either.
Right. Though there's not a politician or a police chief around who's going to stand up in front of a microphone and say, "Well, there's really nothing I can do. It is societal problems that are the reason for this."
Right. And that's why they have to say something and they have to get out there. I get that, but what they really need to be doing is putting their heads together, working on a regional solution, talking about funding, talking to the Board of Aldermen about where resources are going. There's lots of things that they could be doing and talking about in a cooperative fashion, pointing fingers and blaming the judges, in my mind, is not the solution.
I agree with you, because Sam Dotson's blog post almost sounds like, hey, don't blame me, blame somebody else.
Yes, that's exactly how I read it. That's exactly how I read it.
I'm the police chief, but it's not my fault.
The other situation that is inescapable in St. Louis right now is everything is viewed in the context of the next mayoral race.
Right.
And so, Sam Dotson is a potential candidate for mayor, and so it's hard to take that prism out of it as well.
Right.
Is how much of this is the police chief being frustrated? How much of this is the fact that this is a very difficult situation to deal with and there is no easy solution? And how much of this is that we got a mayor's race going on?
Here's where I come down on this. You had Matt O'Leary reach out to Nick Pister in his article. You had Matt O'Leary come on this show, and it was very forthcoming, very honest. Here's what I think the problems are. You had Missy Kelly come out, who reached out to us and talked to all the other media outlets out there, and nothing from the mayor's office, nothing from the police chief until the Friday and this weekend. If anything, shouldn't they have been out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday talking about this is tragic, this is terrible, there are things we can do, there are things we can't do? That's what a leader does. They don't wait till a Friday of a 3-day weekend to come out and say this.
Part of it is what are they actually trying to do? Are they trying to solve a problem, or are they trying to create the proper spin so we're looking at the problem in the appropriate way and blaming the appropriate people? That's the difficulty in dealing with stuff in St. Louis. This isn't just a mayoral problem. It's not just a police problem. It's a Board of Aldermen problem.
Right.
It's a poverty problem. It's a judicial problem. It's about getting the entire system to work together. And more than that, it's not a city problem. It's a county problem. It's the fact that rather than just having one police department for the region, we've got 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever the heck. I keep forgetting what the number is.
No. It's all very interesting. But that blog post by Sam Dotson was very interesting.
It didn't help.
It did not help. Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist. You're here Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then are you filling in for me all next week?
I am filling in for you starting on Friday for a week.
It's a good thing I got small shoes to fill.
I am. How early do I have to? What do I have to be here? 1 in the morning or something?
Well, if you're Daniel Dowd, the show starts at what? 5:40, 6:45, 7 o'clock, depending on whenever Daniel gets here.
Just you guys know I'll be here eventually, right?
Show starts at 6.
I'm in traffic.
Show starts at 6, whether you're here or not. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks.